I had a very open mind about the paranormal. And being in a museum, you get all these daft films about mummies coming to life and all this rubbish. And from time to time, we get groups of paranormal investigators coming to the museum, and they have a lovely time. They scare themselves witless, trying to communicate with the spirits, and they don't. You know, they just... But they give us money to do it, so we're tarts. We don't mind. We'll take money from anybody. So yeah, these groups come round. Now this picture came to us from Colby British Legion Club when it was closing. They were disposing of everything, and very kindly they gave us all these objects which had been hung on the walls since time immemorial. And this young fella is in the uniform of the Isle of Man Volunteers, which was a fairly short-lived unit at the start of the First World War. By early 1915, they'd all been absorbed into the King's Liverpool Regiment, but his cap badge is definitely Isle of Man Volunteers. Very helpfully, there's a name on the back of the picture, because we didn't know who he was, and the name, which I can't remember, I think it was Kenyak or something like that, so I thought, well, that's got to be his name. And the only reason that you would have a hand-coloured portrait of your lad from the First World War is if he didn't come home, so that pretty much guarantees that he was a casualty. So I looked through my casualty lists, and there were two possible candidates named Kenyak in the Isle of Man Volunteers. Anyway, I managed to narrow it down to one who became my favourite, and I did a little biography of him and attached it to the picture which we had on display. And it was just literally stuck on with a piece of blue tack, just stuck onto the glass at the front of on the frame. And it kept falling off. And you go mad after a while running a museum. You talk to your exhibits, you know. And I ended up talking to this lad saying, what are you doing? Why do you keep knocking that off? Stick it back on with blue tack. And I eventually made a very fancy wire hook, welded to the back of the card that this information was on, and hooked over the top of the picture. And this went on over a period of months when it kept falling off. And eventually this thing didn't fall off. Got you. Until we had a paranormal evening. And they always say, have you ever experienced anything odd? And I said, well, not really. No, I said, there is one thing, but I'm not going to tell you about it. I said, you've got to find it, basically. And I was chatting to a group of them very close to this. And there was a girl opposite me. She had her back to this picture. And we were just chatting, and she shuddered. And she said, oh, somebody's just run the hand over the back of my head. I thought, yeah, of course they have, yeah. Anyway, and by this stage, every time I opened the museum or closed it, I checked that this label was in place. It was like a reflex action. And it had been there, it must have been static for 6 or 8 months, never moved. Anyway, they did all their silly mumbo-jumbo, and they went away trembling with fear. I went away trembling with cold, because they always come in the depths of winter, and the heating's not very effective. And on my closing down operations, I looked at this thing, and the pictures, the labels on the floor. Well, talk about the hair standing up on the back of your neck. But by this time, I was quite blasé because I was having a conversation with him. You've done it again, haven't you? You've done it again. But I really did decide then that I must have given him the wrong name. So the following Sunday morning, I got all my, well, it's on the laptop, I've got photographs of a lot of the First World War casualties. And I went through them all, they're all in alphabetical order, and I got to the T's, the letter T's. And that black and white picture on the left is in the Isle of Man yearbook for 1918. Got the wrong man. It's not Kenyak at all, it's Will Taylor, a young fella from Santon. So that very morning, I'd got his biographical details ready. I reprinted the label. I stuck it on the front of the glass with blue tack, and it has not moved from that day to this.